Hey, this is Joe from SoFly, and in this video, we're going to export WooCommerce orders to Dropbox using WP All Export. So to get started, we'll go down here to New Export, and then from the pull down, we'll select WooCommerce orders. And then over here, we have some filtering options. So if we wanted to, we could add filters to, for example, just export orders within the last week, or orders from California, or orders that contain a certain product. But in this case, we're just going to export everything. If you're interested in filters, go ahead, check out our YouTube channel and our documentation. We have a lot of content on those features. All right, now we will click Customize the export file. Okay, and then here on the left is our export, and then we can drag and drop from our data over here. So for example, I can take my order total, drag it in. I can rearrange these. I can click in here to rename it. And we can preview. And that's what we get. That's what our export looks like. So if we continue, we can also add a field over here by searching. So for example, if I wanted to add my customer name, just like that, and that is also available over here. So we can get our first name and our last name. So that's going to put the names in separate columns, right? First name in one column, last name in the second column. We can combine those over here with the custom export field. So we just drag in the first name and the last name, give it a space, name the column, save, preview, and there you go. Now they're combined, right? So we can drag these out. Now with custom export fields, we can do a lot of stuff. We can drag and drop fields from over here to combine multiple fields. We can add static text, like we can do this for the order total. Put a $sign in there, a static $sign. We can drag in our order total. We can call this order total, just like that. And then we can get rid of our other one over here, preview. And there you go. We can see the order total has come in with my $sign on it. So you can just combine fields and static text like that. And the other thing you can do with a custom export field is PHP. So if you want to, we can take, for example, the order ID, and then we can wrap it in these brackets like this, and then we can write a function. My function, open it with a parentheses, close it, and now this data right here, the order ID, is going to be passed into my function, which I can write a function down here, and then it's going to be processed. And whatever this function does with the order ID and returns, whatever value it returns is going to be used for the cell here, right? The other way to do this with PHP is like this, my function. So if you just have if you just want to pass in the one value, you can do it like that. If you want to pass in multiple values, for example, maybe you want to pass in the whole address or something like that, then you can do it over here with the custom export field. Very powerful. We have a lot of documentation. We have a bunch of code snippets on our website that go into PHP in more detail. Very powerful. You can do a lot of very cool things with it. Okay, continuing on. So we have all of our order data over here. We have all of our customer data, and then all of the data related to the orders over here that we can drag in. Some other options over here. Check out our YouTube channel. These are mostly related to how products are displayed for the order items. If you're interested in that, like more detail in setting up your order export, check out our documentation. We go into that in more detail. Same thing with over here, the export type, XML feeds, spreadsheets, including Excel and stuff like that. For this export, we're going to do a normal CSV order export and just show you how to put the file in the Dropbox. If you want more information on how to actually set up your order export and what kind of file types you can export, again, YouTube channel documentation. All right, so we'll continue. All right, and then the two main features on here that we want to show are our scheduling options. So like this, if we were to set this up right here with this combination of features, Monday, midnight, only export orders once. Every Monday at midnight, this export runs, and it's only going to export the new orders that were added since the last time it ran, which should be last Monday, right? So every Monday in Dropbox, I get a CSV with all of my orders. So there's two ways that you can set up a schedule. You can use the $9 a month automatic scheduling service, or we have a manual scheduling service over here. It uses cron jobs. You can read about cron jobs on our documentation. They're not too bad. But yeah, with either of these features, you can set up schedules to run for your export whenever you want. And then with this feature here, it makes it really easy to get, exactly just the new orders that were added since the last time. Another interesting feature, export each WooCommerce order in real time as they're completed. If we enable this, every time we get an order, this export runs. And then also down here, we have client mode. So for real-time exports in client mode, check out our documentation. Those are pretty powerful features that kind of deserve their own videos. And we actually have videos on those as well. So if those are interesting to you, check that out. The rest of these are pretty self-explanatory. All right, so let's save and run the export. And this is going to take a few minutes to run. While that's going, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to get my Zap set up. So this is Zapier, and with Zapier, we use, we're able to integrate with WPL export. So every time this export finishes, we can do stuff over here in Zapier. So we're going to create a Zap, and then our trigger is going to be WP all export. So we'll set that up. And our event is going to be new export file, which means this trigger is going to run every single time we get a new export file. And then we'll continue. And this is already linked to WPL export, this WordPress installation. So if we go over here to settings, right, we have our API key over here. We take our API key and the domain name for our site, and then we put it in over here, and that lets us authenticate with WP all export through Zapier. So we'll continue. Now, we have to wait for our export to finish to come back for this test. So we'll go over here and we'll just patiently wait until this is done, and we'll come back when this is completed. All right, so our export has completed. Let's go back over here to Zapier and we'll test our trigger. So that's going to pull the export file from my site, and we can see that it has completed, and we'll continue with the selected record. All right, so now we have our action. So our action is going to be Dropbox. So we simply select it over here, choose an event. Our event is going to be upload a file. So now we'll continue, choose an account, choose my Dropbox account, continue, and the folder, we'll just call this order exports. That's where it's going to be put in my Dropbox. The file, we're going to select from WPL export our export file right here. Overwrite, no. So now every time the export runs, we're going to get a new version of the file. Specify the file name, we'll leave this blank, and we'll leave the file extension blank. We'll just use what WPL export's going to give us. But we can change this if we want to. And we'll continue. Now, this is going to run every single time I complete an export over here, right? So let's test our step. Let's see if it worked. So this Zap is going to run every time we create a new export file, right? Every single time that we run a new export. Now, maybe I have multiple exports here on my site. So I want to make sure this Zap is only going to run for this specific export. So over here, I have an ID of 43. So let's go back over here. And oh, yeah, there, it's successfully completed. That's great. We'll add a step in here. So we're going to add a filter. We're going to only continue if, okay, so we're going to only continue if the export ID exactly matches 43. And we'll continue. And we have other operators too, right? So we can, have this Zap run for multiple exports, etc. Okay, so we'll continue. And there's a lot of other stuff you can do with Zapier that's really cool. I highly recommend you check it out. They have tons of other apps you can integrate with, and you can add multiple steps in here like this. Okay, so we're going to basically just publish this. We're all good to go. Let's pull open Dropbox and let's see if my test came in. And there it is. So order exports, and then here's my export that I just ran. Let's open it up and take a look. Okay, we can close this other one over here. So this is the export that I just created right now, right? And it was pulled in as with some test data. So this was just the first run of the export, and it pulled in, it has 5,758 orders. Okay, so what we want to do now is we want to turn this on. I'm going to publish it. We'll call this order exports to Dropbox. Okay, so this export's only going to run when we have export number 43. So let's go over here and let's rerun my export. And what we're going to do now is we're just going to add a quick filter in here so we can see the difference between the two files. So I'm going to filter these, and I'm only going to export orders that have a billing state equal to California. So I'll add that rule, and you can see here, now we have 623 orders that are going to be exported. So I'm going to confirm and run the export. We'll let this run. All right, the export's complete, and then in just a few seconds, we're going to see my order export show up right over here, and there it is. So here's the new one, and we can see it just has a subset of my orders, right? Everything from California. Now let's do one more test over here. Let's create a new export. We'll do WooCommerce orders again. Okay, so we'll add our rule over here. 623 orders are going to be exported, and we're just going to customize the export file. Not going to do any customization. We're just going to run this. And what I want to see is I want to make sure that this export's not going to show up in Dropbox, right? Because it should only be uploading the files to Dropbox for that other export that I've created, right? ID 43. So while that's running, let me pull up my folder again. We'll bring that down. All right, so I'll leave this over here. We'll let this export run, and when it's complete, we should not see anything show up, obviously, right? Because our Zap should only run for the other export. All right, so that is all it takes to export WooCommerce orders to Dropbox using WP All Export. Check out our documentation and our YouTube channel. We have a lot of videos and content on how to export and import WordPress data, WooCommerce products, WooCommerce orders, etc. All right, thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.